When I came into the academy, I came into a new world, an exciting world. At that time, there was no Yeshiva high school, there was no Hannah Sachs, there was one primary school, and that was the Chicago Jewish Academy.
The entire United States, west of the Hudson, had 3 institutions of Jewish education. All roads led to Chicago.
In a sense, the Academy became the mother of all the Jewish day schools in the city, because prior to the establishment of the Academy, there were no day schools on the American scene.
Without the Academy, the basic infrastructure of Orthodoxy in Chicago today would be almost non-existent. And I think to a great extent that helped shape all of us, right? And from that background, that basis, a lot of successful people were able to come out of it.
Ida Crown has always been a central institution in the Chicago community. It was evident then, it's still today, and we work so very hard to keep that truth. So many of us still carry with us those great memories, the stories, some that we'll tell and some we'll just remember, but take it forward into the future and pass it on, whether we're in Chicago, in Israel, or anywhere in between.
Ida Crown is obviously an institution, and it's an institution precisely because so many people through the years have had such tremendous experiences at that school.
Going to the academy, it was fun. We felt at home there. It was a very long day. I mean, we didn't get out till 5:30, 6 o'clock, and then you had to take the bus back. But no one complained about it because of the fact that we so enjoyed being there.
I had some of the greatest teachers anyone could ever have. I had Rabbi Ugent, Rabbi Pfefferman, Rabbi Silver, Rabbi Hirsch Eisenberg Zal. They lived and breathed what they were teaching. It wasn't just a profession.
My father really enjoyed working with the students. He was a teacher and assistant principal. He could tell, walking into the davening in the morning who was missing and why they weren't there.
Rabbi Joel Silver, he was the younger Rebbe. All of our Rebbeim were pretty much older. He was the first Rebbe to have us over for Shabbos meals. That was a new thing. We never heard about that before.
For me, one of the teachers had a great inspiration was Miss Rosemary Baker. Not Jewish in any way, a very special lady, an unconventional hire. It taught me a lot, and I'll always be thankful to her.
Mrs. Bess was our Hebrew teacher. I think Mrs. Bess gave us so much in learning correct Hebrew.
I can really credit Mrs. Bass. I write legal opinions for Israel. I work completely in Hebrew. I'm completely fluent. That was very thought-provoking and again stays with me to this day.
It's in the academy that I could have a teacher such as Rabbi Rappaport, who would teach us mathematics, and he was an outstanding teacher in mathematics, who would also tell us a Dvar Torah every Friday morning. What a beautiful combination.
We'll see teachers who will wake up at 4 or 5 in the morning to teach something for the 30th or 31st time because they're thinking about how do I reach that one student I have not reached yet. They really care for each student to succeed.
Whether it was Rabbi Ugent, Rabbi Fliegelman, or Rabbi Kurtz, I'd say the one trait they all had in common was joy. They all brought tremendous joy to the classroom every day.
Going to the academy wasn't just about going to class. In fact, sometimes it was about not going to class.
The student activities were a very important part of the academy. My wife and daughters liked the basketball games. Saturday nights particularly. Saturday night was a basketball game for sure.
Back then we only had one sport. We had basketball. Now we have like 8 or 10 sports. So that was a big thing. So on a Saturday night, the Academy Yeshiva basketball game, even if it wasn't the Academy Yeshiva, but that game was usually on a Saturday night, we'd be in the old gym and it would be packed to the rafters.
We were one of the first classes to do a school play, and one of the expectations was that every single person in the class had a part, and it was a very successful play, Fiddler on the Roof, and we did it all in Hebrew, and I loved it.
I remember the Yom Kippur War, when Rabbi Rappaport sent off the senior class to volunteer in Israel, and the rest of us were excused from classes to be able to collect tzedakah from Magen David Adom.
We had what was called mashpi'im and mashpiot, and we did chesed projects and we did community services. We would go to nursing homes, and I think we would package food. Those were things I loved doing. That was the best, and I think it created a sense of community and a sense of belonging and helped develop our relationships.
Senior Shabbaton, the girls' Shabbaton, which is now called ICJA Shabbaton. I really loved it when I was here as a student. I loved the chance to be with my friends, my peers, and my teachers for Shabbos. And I love now being on the other end, planning those Shabbatons, thinking about what I really loved and hearing the input from the girls.
Purim, some of my best memories, we were in the old building, and we used to have a big snake going around the fishbowl, around the whole school, singing and popping into every class and dancing with the rabbis and then popping out. Really nice thing about the Academy is they do a really good job of bringing the calendar to life.
You know, there was some graduation speeches that I remember so fondly. One of the best was Alexander Traeger, and she gave the speech in Russian, in English, and in Hebrew, and it was outstanding.
Study after study in educational research shows that the best predictor of a student's success is actually their parents' education. And the second best predictor of success is the community where they find themselves in. And so where else will you find generations of successful, integrated community members than here at ICJA?
There is definitely a notion of being in the Ida Crown family. You see students wearing, sweatshirts or t-shirts of their parents. They went to Ida Crown, or it could be an old camp sweatshirt. But there's a certain sense of legacy and tradition that they're really continuing.
My parents spoke about how they met in Mrs. Wasserstrom's class in 9th or 10th grade, and they just spoke about how much they loved the Academy and how fortunate they are to have their kids go to the same school.
I had a lot of the same teachers as my parents. They share similar stories to me. They also had completely different experiences. The spirit stayed the same. The love for the school is still there. My parents remembered those years fondly.
That's interesting. Parents that were in school when I was their assistant principal are now bringing their children. And it just makes me feel and remember that whatever we did in the 90s and the O's and the teens, we're building something. In the weeds every day, you don't always get to appreciate it. But there's a connection, and it makes the communal part come to life.
"25 years ago, we were in Israel, and as I'm walking the streets of Yerushalayim, I hear somebody behind me say, Nevi'im Rishonim, Yoshua Shoftim, Ushmuel Melachim. And I turned around, and there were two of my students singing a song that I had taught them in their freshman, sophomore year. It's that feeling of community that means the world.
I cherish those particular years. I cherish what the Academy represented. I cherish what the Academy produced.
It's always a warm feeling flows over you when you stop and think as the years have passed of the students, the teachers, the faculty, the camaraderie and the spirit, the ruach that was generated. It's a source of nachas.
Whether I was going to Aces games and cheering on my friends, or the times we'd spend outside of school, the friends I made there, and the feeling of camaraderie is something that I don't know if I appreciated at the time.
You know, when you're learning at the time that you're learning, you actually appreciate everything you went through only a few years later. The staff and the friends I met there are going to be an influence on me for the rest of my life. I really do have great memories.
It was something to behold. The Academy was an experience that it really was unforgettable.
It's synonymous with Chicago, and so many generations of students have been educated, are being educated, and will be educated at Ida Crown Jewish Academy.
All Jewish education was important to my grandmother. If she saw what the Academy has been able to produce, the wonderful, wonderful kids that have come out of it, how they have excelled in every single way, I know it would bring a real smile to her face.